In the early 1990s, Kenner Toys introduced a toy line called Littlest Pet Shop, which featured several miniature animal figurines that would play around in playsets that were about the size of a compact mirror and could be easily carried around.
The toy line was popular enough that when Hasbro acquired Kenner in 1992, they would continue Littlest Pet Shop until about the year 2000, when Kenner was fully absorbed into Hasbro and its offices closed. Along the way, Hasbro developed an animated television series that ran for 40 episodes beginning in 1995. That, in turn, would be followed by a relaunch in 2004 that saw an addition to the tiny pets in the form of animalistic fur for a more realistic feel.
In 2010, the relaunch will wind up getting a new addition in the form of a young girl named Blythe, who is based on a doll that Kenner produced in 1972. This resulted in the line being rechristened Blythe Loves Littlest Pet Shop. Now, of course, the really big thing that happened in 2010 was the fact that Hasbro wound up acquiring a majority stake of the Discovery Kids cable channel, rebranding it to the Hub, and that in turn would launch a new animated series based on My Little Pony called My Little Pony Friendship is Magic.
When My Little Pony, and thus the whole brony phenomenon, took off, Hasbro looked to do the same with Littlest Pet Shop, and I mean that quite literally. My Little Pony's animation studio DHX and voice actors like Tabitha St. Germain, Peter New, and Ashley Ball, heck, even composer Daniel Ingram were all enlisted to help develop an animated series based around Littlest Pet Shop, which would launch in 2012.
The show would revolve around Blythe Baxter, who, shortly after relocating to a big city with her corporate pilot father Roger, would suddenly discover that she had the ability to talk to animals. In particular, Blythe would wind up befriending a group of exotic animals being cared for by the eponymous Littlest Pet Shop, which also acted as sort of a daycare center for pets.
The group of pets included Russell, a bureaucratic hedgehog, Sunil, a magic trick performing mongoose, Pepper, a wisecracking wannabe stand-up comic skunk, Zoe, a fashionista King Charles spaniel, Minka, a hyperactive artistic spider monkey, Vinny, a dance enthusiast gecko, and Penny Ling, a miniature panda who is into rhythmic gymnastics. Blythe and the pets would have several slice-of-life adventures, usually revolving around Rival Emporium, the largest ever pet shop run by the tycoonish Biscuit family, whose daughters, Whitney and Brittany, would become bullies to Blythe and her human friends.
Littlest Pet Shop, no doubt bolstered by the fact that it aired right after My Little Pony, would wind up running for 4 seasons and 104 episodes. It would even be popular enough that IDW would wind up giving the series a comic book spin-off. And today we're looking at the first 4 issues and 2 mini-comics of that spin-off. This is Littlest Pet Shop Volume 1, Open for Business.
Blythe returns home, seemingly wanting to avoid her friend Young Mi. The reason soon becomes apparent as Blythe enters her room to find Young Mi waiting in the pet shop dumbwaiter. It's not really anything too serious, as Young Mi just wants Blythe to be her teammate for a Battle Pets card game tournament. However, Blythe is a little bit worried due to a competitive streak that is borderline an obsession, but Young Mi is willing to keep Blythe in check and starts building her deck.
Young Mi's song is part of a small circle of friends that Blythe is particularly close with. The others include wannabe filmmaker Jasper Jones, athlete Sue Patterson, and occasional love interest Josh Sharp. Now, Young Mi is the only one who is actually aware that Blythe has the ability to communicate with animals.
Meanwhile, the pets are focused on a new shop opening across the street. When they see a sign that reads, "The Scratching Post," the group becomes immediately worried. Littlest Pet Shop barely scrapes by as it is, thanks to the biscuits, and a third pet store opening up could be too much. To that end, Russell calls upon the group to perform some reconnaissance and figure out if the Scratching Post is a serious threat or not. The pets then slip out of the store as Young Mi, Blythe, and Linkara exit the gaming shop.
So, am I supposed to do the whole, I am a man thing or not?
The pets enter the Scratching Post and find a lot of cat theming inside, right down to the chair legs doubling as scratching posts as they're wrapped in heavy twine. There's also a lot of viral records of obscure bands, meaning that this place could be more of a relaxation spot for both owner and pets, or in other words, Littlest Pet Shop is Dunyan Rings. The idea is enough for Minka to flip out and accidentally topple over a stack of chairs. Distraught, the pets head back to the shop, where Russell hits on the idea of just trying to outclass the Scratching Post. The pets drawing all over various forms of furniture finally attracts Blythe's attention, and she explains the Scratching Post isn't a pet shop, it's just a hipster coffee house. The reason she knows this is because this is where the Battle Pets tournament is being hosted on the weekend. Soon the day of the tournament arrives, and Blythe and Young Mi manage to mow their way through the competition right up until the final match where they get smoked by 2 professional Battle Pets players.
I'm not sure if the scratching post is still around by the final season, where the owner of the Littlest Pet Shop, Mrs. Twombly, winds up expanding it out into Littlest Pet Street.
Blythe is in literature class where groups of three will need to do a project based around The Great Gatsby. Unfortunately, the way the pairings go results in her being teamed up with Whitney and Brittany Biscuit. The twins are more than content to leave Blythe to do everything, but there needs to be evidence that all members of the group contributed to the project. Suffice to say, Blythe is a little stressed out. Added to that, Blythe loses her notebook while looking after the pets. The animals begin looking around the shop, with Sunil climbing on the bookshelf when he spots what appears to be a notebook hanging from the top rack. However, he slips and falls into an aquarium containing a snake. Thankfully, though, this is not the mongoose's mortal enemy, a cobra, but rather it's a constrictor named Trey. The two actually wind up bonding, with Trey expressing a desire to wish to play a board game, even though he doesn't have any limbs. Back at the school, Blythe confronts the Biscuits, who reveal they did in fact read The Great Gatsby, mainly just the parts about the parties and the fashion, and not so much about the torrid love affairs, jewel smuggling, white supremacy, spousal abuse, and murder plots. However, this winds up giving Blythe the idea to just parody The Great Gatsby and turning it into a soapy teen drama. This results in a passing grade for all. Back at the shop, Sunil and Trey work together to escape the habitat and get to the other pets to help them play a board game.
So how exactly did Blythe wind up coming into her ability to communicate with animals? Well, like I said earlier, it just sort of happened shortly after she moved to the city with her father. Though in the first episode she did attribute it to a head injury sustained when she accidentally fell down the Littlest Pet Shop dumbwaiter.
Then suddenly, in the final season, Blythe encountered a tortoise that had actually once belonged to her late mother, Lauren. Said tortoise gave Blythe a journal that belonged to her mother, and it turned out that Lauren could also talk to animals.
Unfortunately, that's kind of where the thread ends, as the topic would not be broached again until the series finale, when Blythe's father, Roger, revealed that, well, he had always known about Lauren's ability to talk to animals and had figured that Blythe was just going through the same thing. I guess the people behind the show didn't realize it was the final season and that maybe a major revelation like that should have been focused on a bit more often. Anyway, back to the comic.
Blythe and the female pets are getting some quality girl time in when news breaks over Blythe's phone about dogs being needed for auditions to star in an upcoming television series. Obviously, this piques Zoe's interest and she immediately wants to attend. As they prepare to leave the shop, a delivery of baby gerbils arrive to provide the B-plot for this story. Zoe continues to fantasize about stardom as the director project, who looks like Michael Bay, explains the explosion-filled television show premise. In particular, he's looking for a dog who can be a real-life hero and presumably look good in a bikini. Zoe's ambition is further fueled when one of her rival performers is revealed to be none other than Madame Pom.
If the name Madame Pom isn't enough of a clue, she's a Pomeranian who is arguably a bigger diva than Zoe, particularly after beating the latter in a canine modeling competition. This, of course, has led to a very fierce rivalry between the two.
It turns out the main linchpin for getting the role is the dog has to perform numerous charitable deeds. Madame Pom has already gotten an early start by volunteering at a local animal shelter, so Zoe is off with Blythe to one-up her. First up is visiting a feline rescue hospital, which mainly revolves around giving the bloodthirsty warlike cats hairball medicine. All in the while, Madame Pom winds up gaining more charity points on television. Back at the pet shop, all the gerbils are free from their container and begin running rush-out all over the place, and without Blythe around, the pets are going to have to find a way to rectify this on their own. They somehow manage to do this by using the internet to stage a baby gerbil adoption rally. As for Zoe, she and Madame Pom actually team up and work together to take down a little old lady who turns out was really a male purse snatcher in disguise. Unfortunately, it's all for naught, though, as Mr. Bay announces that the role is now going to a dolphin.
I guess the dolphin just looked better in the bikini. Anyway, the next story involves a recurring guest pet in the form of the rabbit Buttercream, who belongs to the woman who runs the bakery next door to the Littlest Pet Shop, Christy Song, who is the aunt of young Mi Song, Blythe's best friend. Now, Buttercream is exposed to copious amounts of sugar throughout the day, which has resulted in her having a very hyperactive personality.
Littlest Pet Shop is having a ruptured water pipe looked at when a delivery for foamy carpet cleaner that specializes in cleaning pet accidents arrives. It's then that Christy drops off Buttercream while she goes to attend a meeting. The rabbit ends up razzing Russell for being too predictable to the point the hedgehog has even announced a fire drill. And this upsets Russell, who points out that he's playing spontaneous, even offering to join a pet gaming session in an Animal Crossing-esque MMO being held later that night. The funny thing is that the game actually winds up being more predictable than Russell until Buttercream introduces a Battle Royale mod with all the competitors firing frosting guns at each other. However, that all changes when a new challenger arrives in the form of an army of flies. Everyone manages to hold them off except for Russell, who is too busy plotting a battle strategy. This causes him to lash out, and the group winds up being overwhelmed in a second attack. Everyone is sleep deprived the next day when another pipe ruptures in the shop and the flooding water winds up mixing with the foamy carpet cleaner. Thankfully, Russell is able to formulate a quick solution involving water spray bottles to literally flush all the foam out the door and straight into Buttercream's face.
And now we close this comic out with two mini-comics.
A mysterious package of rocks arrives at Littlest pet shop, putting Sunil on edge because he's seen this before. They're pet rocks, and soon the pets will wind up being replaced by these low-maintenance objects. However, it turns out this is just a gag gift ordered by Blythe's father, Roger. Next up, the pets have to deal with Russell having a cold and spraying his quills every time he sneezes. This leads Vinny to fantasize about being a medieval knight to remedy the situation with a blanket.
And that concludes our look at Littlest Pet Shop Volume 1, Open for Business. How was it? Well, I think this does a real good job of capturing the feeling of this show, especially the slice of life parts of it. I think it works, the characterization is consistent, the artwork is consistent with the show. I mean, the only thing missing is the musical numbers, which obviously you can't translate to a comic. If there is a drawback, though, unfortunately, I think it's that the whole supporting cast is very underutilized. I mean, Blythe's father, Roger, really doesn't show up that much. He was prominent in the series. Blythe's other friends, other than young me, really don't show up that much during it. Heck, the Biscuits, who were perfect foils during the whole show, are only in one story. They really should have been shown more often. Heck, Largest Ever Pet Shop is only shown once. So, yeah, that's really a problem there. Heck, even some of the pets also get forgotten. I mean, Vinny doesn't really have a story. Penny Lane doesn't have a story. Pepper doesn't have a story. It's just, you know, Zoe and Russell and Sunil, and that's not even half. So, yeah, you can see where, I mean, maybe it's not bad. It's just, again, I think I wouldn't recommend this to new readers. I think I would only recommend this if you were a fan of the show. It's a decent example, though, of a show comic done right, or something like that, I guess, is what I'm trying to say there. Anyway, I'm going to give Littlest Pet Shop Volume 1, Open for Business, a C. Like I said, it's fine, it's just not spectacular. And with that, let's see what we're doing next time on the Random Trade Review.
Remember, you can help support my channel at patreon.com/sleepytimeforcatproductions. There, you can request a trade to be put in the randomizer, aka the cardboard box. Also, remember, like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell.